1945. On February 4th through the 11th, in the face of Germany's defeat in World War II, the Allies' Yalta Conference agreed to divide Germany into 4 separate zones. Great Britain, France, and the United States of America took the western, northwestern, and southern regions. The Soviet Union ran the eastern. Berlin, located in Soviet territory, is divided into east and west zones as well. 1948. In April, the Soviets imposed a partial blockade of Berlin, and in June, a full blockade. The events that led to the Soviet blockade of Berlin were the institution of Marshall Plan for European Recovery, the London Conferences of Winter and Spring of 1948, and the resulting London Program. On June 24th, Stalin blocked land routes to West Berlin to force Western allies out. On June 23rd, the Western rulers introduced a new form of currency into the zone, which caused the Soviets to exploit the Berlin blockade one day later. 1949. Berlin separated into 2 separate German states. The zones occupied by Britain, France, and the United States become West Germany, also known as the Federal Republic of Germany, on May 12th. And the Soviet zone becomes East Germany, or the German Democratic Republic, on May 24th. West Germany is a democratic republic and East Germany is a communist country aligned with the Soviet Union. Beginning in 1949 and ending in 1961, more than 2.7 million East Germans find ways to escape to West Berlin. Foreign citizens, West Germans, West Berliners, and Allied military personnel are allowed to enter East Berlin, but East Berliners need special passes to exit. 1953. January 12th, the CPSU-CC approved the deployment of border guards along the eastern border of the GDR. On March 18th, draft instructions of the Soviet leadership sent to its representative in East Germany advised this SED should request for East German control of the border with West Germany are unacceptable and grossly simplistic. On June 17th, the Soviet military stopped all cross-sector travels, causing a widespread discretion among hundreds of thousands of East Germans who worked in the western sectors or passed through them. In March 1953, Moscow denied Ulbricht on concealing the sector border of Berlin, then the SED's leadership efforts to seal off East Germany. Anxious to save what was left of their political position of German unity, Moscow held measures that were unacceptable. The Kremlin knew of the massive amount of resentment among the Berlin and GDR population. The Soviets forced the SED to increase its fight against hostile elements. The East German population in the days following the uprising, SED leaders and local Soviet high communication officials urged Semenov, then in Moscow, the extraordinary CPSU plenum, to normalize the traffic situation in Berlin. Semenov, following Molotov's orders, informed Ulbricht that the question of free movement across the sector border must be decided by the German comrades themselves, taking the situation into account. On July 7th, tram and metro traffic between the sectors in Berlin was restored. Connected to the events that occurred on June 17th, the testimonies of all types of transport and pedestrians across the sector border between East and West Berlin, the GDR, and East Berlin through West Berlin was halted. Myroshenko and Lenkov considered it expedient to ease travel for commuters between East and West Berlin by improving public transport. 1961. May 19, 1961, Ambassador Perevyukin writes to Russian Minister Gromyko to discuss the possibility of East Germany in the Soviet Union peace treaty. The ambassador also brought up border control along East and West Berlin to close the door to the West. Perevyukin is not the only one to write a letter about a peace treaty. Ulbricht wrote to Khrushchev about a peace treaty with the Western powers. In the letter, he also mentioned that the Bonn government threatened to break its trade treaty with the GDR if the peace treaty ends with both German states. Ambassador Perevyukin sends the opinions of the Soviet embassy of East Germany explaining the peace treaty between East Germany and the Soviet Union. Khrushchev made the opening statement at the conference in Moscow, which was to discuss the preparation and conclusion of a German peace treaty. August 13, 1961, began the construction of the Berlin Wall that would tear families and loved ones apart. The wall was built to cut off any relationship between East and West Berlin and the East Germans. East Germany claimed it was building the wall only to stop Western spies from crossing over into East Germany, but it was truly built to block citizens from fleeing East Germany to go to West. At the time, the United States of America backed West Germany and the Soviets fought for East Germany. The wall consisted of 96 miles of concrete and barbed wire, which separated into East and West Berlin territory, which eventually evolved into a large concrete wall, armed with East German border guards. On Friday, August 18, 1961, a newspaper article was posted titled, "East Germany Recruits Youths, Builds Berlin Wall." The article was about how East Germany forced young men to sign up for army services. 1963. June 26, 1963, United States President John F. Kennedy speaks at the Rothschild City Hall. He spoke, "Today in the world of freedom, the proudest boast is Ich bin ein Berliner. All free men, wherever they may live, are citizens of Berlin. And therefore, as a free man, I take pride in the words, Ich bin ein Berliner." 1970. National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger updated President Richard Nixon on the four-power negotiations between East Berlin, West Berlin, the Soviet Union, and the United States. 1971. September 3, 1971, the U.S., Britain, France, and the Soviet Union talk about the lead to the four-power agreement on Berlin, to announce conditions for West Berliners and make travel from West Berlin to West Germany easier, as well as travel by West Berliners to the east. 1972. December 21st, West and East Germany signed the Basic Treaty, which normalizes diplomatic relations and recognizes each other's sovereignty. 1987. On June 12th, United States President Ronald Reagan visited Berlin and made his world-famous "Tear Down This Wall" speech at the Brandenburg Gate. The purpose of his speech was to challenge the General Secretary of Communist Party of the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, to tear down the wall. 1989. In April of 1989, the GDR enforces the border guards to stop the use of firearms to prevent future border violations. On October 18th, Communist Party Chief Honecker is expelled and replaced by Egon Krenz. November 4th, over 500,000 people rally in a pro-freedom protest in East Berlin, demanding free elections. Finally, on November 9th, East Germany overrules travel restrictions to the west, legally allowing people to flee to the west. November 9th, 1989, will forever be remembered as the day the Berlin Wall fell, representing the symbolic end to the Cold War.